Hi, and welcome to this article about 8 ways to become a better UX designer. My name's Carl, I'm the senior instructor here at Web Courses Bangkok, and I'm going to take you through a couple of these things because I've done it for about 20 years. I was doing UX before it even started, and I want you to stick around because we're going to give you some really good tips. Okay, so tip number 1. One of the first things I want you to think about to improve yourself as a UX designer is make sure that you've had enough experience with things like design thinking. Design thinking is a big buzzword at the moment, and it's something that happens a lot in the industry. We will do something anyway and then we'll put a name on it. So design thinking at the moment is a big thing, and basically what we want to be able to do is do things in stages. So my first real tip in this is, with your UX design, do things in very specific stages. Know that you're doing the empathize part, right? So you're going and talking to people, you're looking at, for example, Google reviews of competitors, maybe you're going on social media and doing a survey, maybe you're just even asking a friend. So my advice is, number 1 is, when you're doing your design thinking, please think about each stage in very specific stages. You're not just doing it all, right? So put your hat on and say, right, now I'm doing empathize. From there, when you sort of talk to people and stuff like that, you can start to think about what problems you're trying to solve. Because the problem might not be obvious. You might find that people on the BTS, let's say for example, they wanted to do banking on the BTS. I had a discussion about this earlier with a colleague. How can they log in to their phone and their account without somebody seeing? What is it that they could do, right? So you got touch, thing, or your face or things like that. So these are some of the things that you might not think about. It's like, you just put your pin in. Yeah, easy peasy. Yeah, but what about, Bob there behind me who's looking at my pin? So define you'll really start to look at what the problems are. Now, the reason I'm saying this clearly is a lot of UX design, what they tend to do is they're just doing UI in wireframe. I've seen it so many times. They spend all the time doing the wireframes, but not the reason why they're designing stuff. Now, from there, you come up with your ideas on the solutions, right? You've got the problem, you know who you're talking about, and then you can come up with the solutions. Rather than kind of going, right, let's just come up with some ideas, and then let's make some personas. It's the other way around, right? So start to think about your ideas and stuff like that. Before you start touching post-it notes and cards and usabilityhub.com, just start to sort of like really understand the problem. For example, if it's a baker shop, right? Let's say you're doing a baking app. What is the real problem that you're trying to solve? Is it the fact that people don't know how to bake? Is it that they have an emergency birthday that they forgot to plan for? Whatever it might be, that's the real problem. It's not like how you're going to design it. That comes later. The design is a solution to the problem. Think about the problem first. Then learn a tool to prototype. And I highly recommend Figma. I'm a big fan of it. It's free. It's what we teach here at Web Courses Bangkok. And then just play with it and start to play with it. But my advice is when you're doing the prototype, just do the screen names. Put one call to action that goes through the journey, right? Don't try and design everything. Just do that, right? It's called a user flow. And then once you've done that, you can start to test out your solutions with people and then start to increase what we call the fidelity, or the amount of stuff you're designing. So that's one of my first things I want you to do, is focus on the issue, who is it for, and then start designing. Hope that helps. So what's number 2? Tip number 2 on how to be a better UX designer is all about design psychology. Now, for me, the realistic way I do this is I have some ideas that I've read and I've tried out, and I keep them in my mind when I'm making design decisions. When you often read a lot of articles like you're reading now, they don't really tell you how to apply it. I want to change that. So right now is this. Imagine you're on Figma. Imagine you're doing a flow of users, or you're planning out a page. With design psychology in the back of your mind, you can start to make choices that make your design better. Example. Let's say, for example, you have a pricing page to design, right? And the client's giving you 3 different prices, but do 2 different types of prices. So you think, great, I've got a tab, price type 1, price type 2, click on the tab, and then you've got your 3 prices. The problem is you've then got 6 choices, right? And one thing we say in design psychology is keep things simple. So why not just change it to 1 price and then have add-ons? And what I'm doing there is I'm using design psychology. I know that having too much choice is as bad as having too little choice. And what I can do is I can say to the client, like, look, from my experience, or even if you've tested it, we believe this is the better way. So that is what really good UX designers will do. They'll look at the problem and give the right solution for the user. And we call that user-centric design. I mean, there's so many things that we can start to think of. You know, back in the article here, I want you to start thinking about data as well. You know, for example, our blog, right? We found out that people love kind of content like this, which is like step by step, and tutorials, right? So all the other stuff that I thought was going to be really cool, it wasn't, and it doesn't get any hits. So we change it, and again, that's even about design psychology. What is the type of content that people really want? How are they feeling? For example, if someone is trying to make a choice, try and think about the doubts that they have, put them on the screen. Are you worried about security? Are you worried about spam? Don't worry, we will never spam you and we'll keep you secure. So those are some of the things that I want you to think about with design psychology. Type it into Google, read it, keep it on the back of your mind so that when you do file anew, you can make a better choice for your design. Number 3, starts off with a bit of a statement. You know, I've interviewed a lot of people in my time, and there's one thing that I have noticed that really makes a good, great, or fantastic designer, especially in UX, is how hungry they are to learn new things and keep up to date. Ask yourself this question: what is the last thing I have read that excites me in my industry? Right? What is it that you feel that you've read recently that you think you want to apply? Because I know what mine is. So mine was behavioral based content, right? So the idea of creating not only the flow through the project, but the type of content is based on what happened before. So for example, if they're very, let's say, discount orientated, right? When they move to the next page, the content has changed based on the behavior of that session. Dude, how cool is that? So now, when I'm in a meeting, I can say this to a client and say, how about some behavioral based content optimization? Makes me sound cool. I explain it properly and put it into the project, and wow, you know, I can learn something new within a few days and apply it straight away. So the tip is to keep up to date with the latest trends. And how do you do that? You've got things like Hey Designer, you've got the Case Study Club, you've got Twitter is probably one of the best ones. Follow some of the top UX designers, and then when they post something, click on it, because they are your best filter to find the best content on the internet. And don't forget to follow @WebCoursesBKK, of course. So let's just summarize this one. Is keeping up to date. Things like, you know, how is material design now changing? How is atomic design now changing? These are some old previous things that maybe have evolved. How is design thinking, design sprints, solution sprints? All of these exciting new things. VR, AR, BR, CR, XR. Just making that up to future-proof this video. But what I'm trying to say is keep up to date, because that will give you the edge and improve you as a UX designer. Number 4, right? Next. Step 4 on becoming a better UX designer is very, very important, and it's what I did. Before I tell you what it is, I want you to think back. I want you to think back at any sort of martial art movie that you've ever watched, right? or like judo or you know, whatever. It's the thing is like it's constant practice, right? And when you're learning stuff, the best thing to do is you find someone who knows more than you and you copy. It's a very Eastern way of learning. It's difficult for us Westerners, but trust me on this. Find a website that you like. Not too hard. Go to land-book.com. Find a website that you like. Screenshot it. Put it in Figma. And then just copy it. Right? I highly recommend Ninja. Font Ninja for Chrome, so you can find out what fonts they use. And there's something called Site Colors as a Chrome extension to find out what colors they've got. Or you can just use the eyedropper in Figma. Copy it, guys. Copy it like that. Not like that and make it a different and go, it's okay. Do it like that. Save all the images from that website and copy it. Now, I'll give you another little thing. A colleague of mine, Matthias, recently once said, "Oh, dude, I really like the design from this guy. I want to copy his spacing." His spacing, not the design and the content. It was just how he spaced things out. Mwah! Now that, for me, was inspiring. And then when I went to do my next design, I started thinking about spacing. And you know what? I got a little bit better. Step 5, test. Oh, I love this one. Because it seems so easy, right? You test it. Now, how? I'll get straight to it. Number 1, usabilityhub.com. Save your design, upload it, and do some questions. You've got sort of 5 choices. 1, show people the design for 5 seconds, ask their opinion. 2, ask them straight questions when they see it. 3, A/B test. 4 is doing a navigation test. And then 5, there's a new one. You'll have to go to usabilityhub.com to find out what that is. So this really, really easy way of testing your designs. Another tip, Fiverr.com. Go there, you can type in usability test or testing, and you can send your design, send your URL, send your app, send it to those people for say $15, even $5. I'd recommend going for $15 and then getting them to test it on video and sending it to you. Not just a report, they're not useful. They have to do the video because you can see how they're using it. Another thing is doing a survey. So things like typeform.com, Google Forms. Send people a picture, ask them to fill out this form. You'll find you'll get a lot of really kind people on some of the UX and UI groups on Facebook. Just put in your design and kindly ask them to give you some feedback, and that will test it. And then obviously is just look either side to you. Do you have a colleague? Do you have a friend, a cat or a dog? Whatever it might be. Just take the time to put it in front of someone else other than yourself. Now, I recently did that with one of our course pages, and there was one section that I loved, and I thought, yeah, everyone's going to love this. Everyone's going to love that section. Everybody hated it. So I had to remove it. And I showed it to my team last night. They hated it. So I removed it. And, you know, I've been doing this a long time, but I don't know what other people like until I ask them. So ladies and gentlemen, step 5 to becoming a better UX designer is test. And I've just given you a lot of different ways of doing that. Oh, another one, mouseflow.com. If your website you're working on it is live, because you can watch people use it. Yeah, not bad. Let's try step 6. Oh, sorry. Just doing step 7, taking a break. That's step 6. Maybe I need to take a break. So that's an interesting step, right? Sometimes when you get really, really deep into it, it gets muddy as a designer, right? So what I would recommend you do is take a little bit of time off. Now, I know this sounds really wishy-washy and stuff like that, but all you need to do is just go and have a coffee. What that does is, in my opinion, right, you have like a creative brain and then you have a working brain. If you're in the process of doing stuff, right, it tends to be, you know, it hopefully comes over, right? But when you take this away and you stop doing stuff and you're just doing like making a cup of tea or going for a walk, whatever it might be, this one starts to come over and starts to give you some ideas. Shall I prove it to you? How many good ideas have you had on the toilet? Or how many good ideas have you had in the shower? Or how many good ideas have you had just before you're trying to go to sleep? Because I do all the time. And I literally just dictate it into my phone and come up with, put the ideas on my phone. So like you can have a piece of paper next to you and stuff like that or whatever. But honestly, when you come back to your design after taking a little break, you'll have fresh eyes, fresh inspiration, and yeah, you might find that you've missed something or you maybe got some new ideas. So just take a little walk. You need about 20 minutes minimum for a break. Anything less than that is just you stopping. It's not a break. So that's my recommendation. Step 6, take breaks. Step 7 to becoming a better UX designer is practice. Yep, you have to practice what you're preaching. Now there's a couple of ways that you can do this. One sneaky way to practice even more is do your portfolio, right? Do your portfolio because you will be forced to explain why you did stuff, and it kind of makes you relive what you've done, form of practice. Another thing you can do is look at your old projects and think about, just write down 5 things that you would do better if you could do it again, right? So look at the design and go, I would have done that better. Yeah, I would have done this better. Third way you can practice is look at the data. Now, if you're an internal UX designer in a company and stuff like that, reach over to the devs or reach over to data science or whatever you can and start to ask them, like, how did my design do? Did it work? I remember once I did a design for the Holiday Inn Pattaya, and we had a meeting with the communications guy, and he just mid-sentence went, yeah, we had an increase in inquiries by 64%, and I was like, well, what? Whoa, 64%? It's not bad. Cool. How can I make it 65? So practicing doing that is really useful, and there's many different ways of also practicing. Another way to practice what you're doing is give answers to other people. So what you can do is go on things like Quora, right? Find a question that you feel you can answer and answer it. Go on Facebook, go on a group and answer that question. It's a form of practicing what you know. Example, how can I improve the conversion rate of my landing page? Well, you've got emotional intelligence, you know what I mean? You've got a lot of choices that you can do. So take a little bit of time to practice. May I recommend doing it at the end of the week? So, maybe Friday afternoon is just go back over some stuff that you've done before and just practice it again. See if you can do it any better. Like, for example, if you wanted to be a little bit better at, say, Figma, you could go in and start to do auto layout for all of your previous designs, whatever it might be. But just do a little bit of practice and you will be absolutely amazed at what you'll be able to do and get even better. Now, the final step to becoming a better UX designer is something close to my heart, and that is take a UX course. One of the great things about that is a lot of the schools, like Web Courses Bangkok, we take a lot of time and care in finding the right teachers. Now, the right teacher for us is someone who is a friendly expert, someone who does it day to day so that they can give you the tips right away. As a unique thing about our school is we don't have to write any curriculum, we can change it like that. So as soon as something comes out like behavioral design or whatever it might be, we can put it in our course and teach it the next day. So one of the things I would definitely advise is look to time and go for a UX course. But one of the questions you must ask is, how old is the curriculum? Who created it? Who is your teacher? Are they an academic or are they an industry expert? And I've got to say, in today's world, the industry expert wins. Academic is great to get certification, but to be very honest, certification is not what employers like me really look at. We look at how you solve problems and we look at your portfolio for those answers. So take a UX course, make sure it has something to do with building a portfolio, make sure it has something to do with teaching you the processes to go through. And that's my final bit of advice. I really hope this is going to be helpful for you. If I've missed anything that you feel that we should have added in these 8 steps, pop it in the comments or let us know. So take care, keep growing your ideas, and stay safe. Now, step 8 is interesting because it's directly. Should I keep that in? Yeah.